being here. I'm here because I'm a dad. I have 4 children, and I simply can't bear the thought of the train wreck that's coming down the road at them. And because of that, I decided to run for our State House of Representatives. And when I went to the very first candidate meeting, the old guard party faithful said, "Why don't you stand up and tell us your name and tell us why you're running?" And I stood up and I said, "My name is Ken Ivory, and I'm running to secure the blessings of liberty to my posterity." And there were some stickers in the room. And after the meeting, 4 or 5 of the old guard came up to me and they said, "You can't say that. You can't say that. You have to get elected first." That's not the way it works. Like you, I remember sitting in 8th grade civics class and learning about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and Patrick Henry, and learning respect and reverence and admiration for the inspired fundamentals that they established and set forth for us, that we might be able to live the principles of prosperity, the laws of liberty, the pillars of peace, separation of powers, the guarantees in the Bill of Rights, the sovereignty of the people, the rule of law, the structure of federalism. Those were the pillars of prosperity that we received from those who founded this nation. Federalism. Most people don't even have an idea what federalism is anymore. I love to paraphrase the 10th Amendment this way. The 10th Amendment in my Constitution says, "You're not the boss of us." And now we see what has happened. What has happened to the separation of powers? Bart Stupak wholesale sold it out for an executive order to pass the health care bill. The guarantee in the Bill of Rights, 1 year ago, you remember 1 year ago, Janet Napolitano put out a document from Homeland Security that said you were all likely homegrown terrorists. The sovereignty of the people. 4,000-page bills that they don't even read. They've not even written them. 2 different studies say that on those bills, on major legislation, the return on investment for lobbying Congress, you ready for this? 20,000%. Structure of federalism. Thomas Jefferson said, when all power is drawn to Washington, foreign and domestic, in small as in great things, it will render meaningless the checks of one government upon another, and will become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated. Federalism, strong, sovereign states that hold the federal government to the powers that we delegated to it under Article 1, Section 8. Now, many people would say, if they're not following the Constitution, why should we have one? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. We in Utah know exactly why. All of us share a heritage from a people that came to this desert having been deprived of every constitutional right guaranteed to them in the Constitution. And they came to this desert to live the principles of prosperity, having been deprived of life, having been deprived of liberty, having been deprived of property, having been deprived of the pursuit of happiness. They came to the desert. And in the desert, they came to live the pure principles of what they called their boasted Constitution. And they turned the desert into a garden. And in their poverty, in their abject poverty, they built schools and they built universities without a Department of Education. They took care of their own without a Department of Health and Human Services. In fact, right here in Utah, are the most charitable people in the United States of America by more than double the national average. So what do we do now? Shall we not be the model of what it means to be free? Shall we not be the model to the United States of America of what it means to be self-reliant? Shall we not live the principles of prosperity and the laws of liberty of our boasted Constitution and prosper? It's up to each one of us. As soon as we commit in our homes to oppose government handouts in our community, when we commit in our homes to resist any federal exercise of powers never delegated to it, when we commit to become self-reliant, and when we commit to secure the blessings of liberty for our posterity, we will have the courage to give to our state representatives to have the courage to take back and erect barriers against the encroachments of the national authority, as Alexander Hamilton said. And in the words of John Dickinson, sanctioned by George Washington, the government of each state is and is to be sovereign and supreme. Sovereign and supreme in all matters that relate to each state only. It is to be subordinate barely in those matters that relate to the whole, and it will be their own faults if they suffer the federal sovereignty to interfere in things of their respective jurisdictions. I commit to resist any exercise of federal power that was never delegated to it. Will you please join me? Thank you.